How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how you can melt bosses, champions, and enemies with just your primary weapon. And in order for your kinetic weapons to be as busted as possible, you will need to use this exotic for the hunter called Lucky Pants. It's a leg armor, and here's what it does. It's called a legally modded holster. When you're ready and fully loaded hand cannons that deal kinetic damage or a damage type that matches your subclass energy type, each hit from that hand cannon increases the damage of the next shot for a short time against a combatant. Hand cannons ready faster and are more accurate immediately after swapping to them. Provides a small benefit to the airborne effectiveness stat of hand cannons while the buff is active. And here's what it buffs. It gives you 20% airborne effectiveness, 100% handling to ready speed, minus 40% accuracy for 4 seconds upon readying. Upon readying a fully loaded kinetic or matching element hand cannon in PvE, 60% increased damage per hit for 5.5 seconds. Maxes out at 600% after 10 hits. And after the buff runs out or you swap weapons, you cannot gain stacks or reacquire the damage buff for 10 seconds. And the weapon that I was using is an exotic hand cannon called the Crimson. And here's what the Crimson does. This is the perk for it. So it's called Cruel Remedy. Kills with this weapon heal the wielder. Precision kills also refill the magazine. And for the Catalyst, all it does is that it gives you increased range. And for the intrinsic trait, it's called Banned Weapon. This weapon fires at 3-round burst. And for what I said about the Lucky Pants, about every hit for the next 5.5 seconds increases the damage. So every burst, in which case is 3 bullets a burst, each bullet from that burst counts. So you need to shoot an enemy 4 times, so 3, 6, 9, 12, in order to get the 600% damage buff from your kinetic weapon. And now let's head to the light subclass. It's called the Gunslinger for the hunter. For the super that I was using is Blade Barrage, because it has the lowest base cooldown and does a bunch of burst DPS. And if you are going to use the Gunslinger super, it does not count for the damage buff for the Lucky Pants. Next, let's head to the abilities. For the class ability, I was using Gambler's Dodge because when you perform a dodge near an enemy, it gives you your melee ability back. For the movement abilities, I was using Triple Jump, and for the solar melees, I was using Knife Trick. Throw a fan of flaming knives that scorch targets on hit. And here's what Scorch does. The target is singed by a destructive solar light, taking damage over time. Scorch damage is increased as the target accumulates more Scorch stacks. After enough Scorch stacks are applied to the target, they ignite. And here's what Ignition does as well. A large solar explosion which deals damage in an area around the target and stuns unstoppable champions. The more Scorch you stack, the higher enough that enemy will ignite. And for the solar grenades, I was using Healing Grenade, a grenade that cures allies on impact and creates an orb of benevolent solar light, granting restoration to allies when picked up. Here's what restoration does if you do not know. You regenerate health and shields over time, cannot be interrupted by taking damage. And here's what cure does as well. You are healed in a burst of mending solar light. Next, let's head to the solar aspects. The first aspect is Knock 'em down. Your solar supers are enhanced. Deadshot Golden Gun has damage resistance, Marksman Golden Gun has increased duration, and Blade Barrage launches more projectiles, while Radiant Final Blows with your equipped throwing knife fully refunds your melee energy. So as you're Radiant, you can kill an enemy with your knife to get it back, or you can use your Gambler's Dodge to get your knife back. So you have 2 ways to get them back. The second solar aspect is called On Your Mark. Precision Final Blows grant you and your nearby allies increased weapon handling and reload speed for a short duration. Stacks up to 3 times. By activating your class ability immediately, you grant the maximum stacks of On Your Mark. Now let's head to the fragments. We have 5 fragments for this build. So for the first fragment is Ember of Searing. Defeating scorched targets grants melee energy and creates a fire sprite. Here's what a fire sprite does. A luminous concentration of solar energy when picked up. Fire sprites grant grenade energy. Next is Ember of Torches. Powered melee attacks against combatants make you and your nearby allies radiant. Here's what Radiant does. Your weapons are enhanced by the power of the Traveler and deal increased damage to combatants. While you are Radiant, your weapon pierces the shields of anti-barrier champions and stun them. So every time I would hit an enemy with my knife ability, in which case I can be able to stun anti-barrier champions. The third solar fragment is Ember of Solace. Radiant and restoration effects applied to you have increased duration. The fourth solar fragment is Ember of Benevolence. Applying restoration, cure, or radiant to allies grants increased grenade, melee, and class ability energy for a short duration. The The fifth and final solar fragment is Ember of Singeing. Your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. Now let's head to the last solar fragment. It's called Ember of Mercy. When you revive an ally, you and your other nearby allies gain restoration. Picking up in Fire Sprite grants restoration. Now that we're done explaining what we need for our super, let's head to the weapons. For the energy weapon, I was using No Composure. It's a Void fusion rifle, and it comes with Feeding Frenzy and Reservoir Burst. And for the power weapon, I was using a Void machine gun called the Retrofit Escapade. It's a crafted machine gun, so I put 4 times the charm and target lock. And for my energy and power weapon, they're both Void weapons. And so for the seasonal mod called Volatile Flow, picking up an Orb of Power grants your Void weapons volatile rounds. And for this build, you're going to be producing a lot of Orbs of Power, which gives you even more volatile rounds for your fusion rifle and your machine gun. Now let's head to the armor, starting with the helmet. For the helmet, I was using Kinetic Siphon. Rapid Kinetic Final Blows creates an Orb of Power. The second one is Void Siphon. Rapid Void Weapon Final Blows creates an Orb of Power. Originally, this energy would cost 3, but how I would be able to get it to cost 1 energy is because of this seasonal mod called Authorized Mods Void. The armor energy cost of all armor mods affecting your Void weapons are significantly discounted. And the third mod for the helmet is Heavy Ammo Finder. Increases the drop chance of heavy ammo on kill. Next, let's head to the gauntlets. The first mod I was using is Impact Induction. Causing damage with a melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown. And same goes for this mod as well. It would originally cost 2 energy, but for the seasonal mod called Authorized Mod Grenades, the armor energy cost of all armor mods affecting your grenades are significantly discounted. The second mod is Kinetic Loader, increases reload speed of kinetic weapons, in which case it's the Crimson. Now let's head to the chest. For the chest I was using is Harmonic Resistance, reduces incoming solar damage from combatants. If you do not know what Harmonic Resistance does, is that it ties to your super. So for example, if you're using a Void super, Harmonic Resistance is going to change to Void Damage Resist. But if you switch it to Arc, it's going to change to Arc Damage Resist. So in this build, I'm using a Solar super, so it's going to tie to using Solar Damage Resist. The second mod is Void Resistance, reduces Void damage from combatants. And the third one is Arc Resistance, reduces incoming arc damage from combatants. And now let's head to the exotic leg armor called Lucky Pants. The mods that I was using for this is Recuperation. Replenishes health each time you pick up an Orb of Power. And for this mod, if you think that your survivability is very good, you can change this mod to Innervation. Reduces grenade cooldown each time you pick up an Orb of Power. And the next 2 mods are Kinetic Weapon Surge to boost your Crimson. Your kinetic weapon gain a small bonus to damage while you have any armor charges. So I have 2 Kinetic Weapon Surges. And so for PvE, if you would have 1 weapon surge, it would be 10% increased damage. If you would have 2 of the mods, it would be 17%. And if you would have 3 of those mods, it would be 22%. So for what I have is 2 kinetic weapon surges. So it would be 17% increased damage to my kinetic weapons for my Crimson. Our 5th and final armor is the Hunter Cloak. The first mod is Reaper. After using your class ability, your next weapon final blow spawns an Orb of Power. The second mod is Time Dilation. Your decaying armor charge has a longer duration. And our 3rd and final mod for the Hunter Cloak is Bomber. Reduces your grenade cooldown when using your class ability. Here are the next 2 seasonal mods that will benefit from your No Composure and your Retrofit Escapade. The first mod is Shatter Orbs. The first time you break a combatant shield, you create an Orb of Power if you break the shield with the matching damage type. The second seasonal mod is Brooks from Beyond. Defeating a powerful combatant with a void weapon has a chance to generate heavy ammo for you and your teammates. When you do create a fire sprite, there's a seasonal mod called Solar Surge. Collecting a fire sprite gives you armor charge. Are you interested in playing on the Stasis Warlock and don't know what build to use? Well, check this video out. This video shows you how you can spam your stasis grenades. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to hit that like button and also subscribe. And to the more people that subscribe, the more it would motivate me to make more Destiny 2 builds.